Ublami, good morning. Thank you so much. My apologies for the delay in our start. We had some technical difficulties. Kubia Huktanga Lukwangin Tana. Really happy and grateful to be joining you here this morning on Lukwangin territory. Uvanga Atira Bani. My Inuvialuit name is Bani. My English name is Stephanie Papik, and I'm the director for the BC Public Service for the Moosehide campaign. And really happy, honored, and privileged to be joined here this morning with Raven Lessert and her husband, Dominic Paul. And I'll hand it over to you two to introduce yourselves.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. Hadi, Raven Lessert, Sedney, Loretta Madam Slew, Paul Lessert Spa, Saigana Lakshabu Injan Yinkaktane Keo, Tabase Nachalia Injan Lakwangin Keo. Good day. My name is Raven Lessert. My mom is the late Loretta Madam, and my dad is Paul Lessert. I'm Carrier. I'm a member of the Lake Babine Nation, part of the Bear Clan. And at the end, I acknowledge the beautiful Lekwungen territories that we're joining you from today. Songhees and Esquimalt nations. Very grateful to be a visitor on such beautiful lands. I am a mama. We've got two very precious girls, Cedar and Choss. Choss means grizzly bear in my language. And I'm the co-founder and now executive director for the Moosehide campaign. And so excited to be back here to share a little bit more about the campaign and invite you in and welcome you back into all those that have joined us before. Really excited to spend this little next bit of time together.
Thanks. Ait Squachel Hela, Asa Salsalten, Asa Dominic Paul, Chislate Sanach Wasaitnich, ESN Kunaseshla. In my Sinchothan language, I just said, good day, everybody. My name is Salsalten. My English name is Dominic Paul. I'm from the Wasaitnich territories here on southern Vancouver Island on my dad's side and Squamish on my mom's side. And that I'm happy to join you here today. Haichka.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for making time to join us for this hour for the Moosehide Campaign Founders Webinar, where we have the opportunity to hear a little bit more about the story behind the Moosehide Campaign and how it's a solution towards ending gender-based violence. For our time together, we are going to share some agreements to co-create sharing and learning environment. Then we'll move into hearing the story behind the Moosehide campaign from Raven, as well as hearing Dom's story, connection to the Moosehide campaign, and that invitation to men and boys and ceremony. And we'll share a little bit about what Moosehide Campaign Day will look like this year, how you can get involved, and then some space and time for Q&A for before wrapping up by noon. So that's our time together. Before we do that, though, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge that we are in an epidemic, as recognized in the Ministry of Finance mandate letter, in that addressing gender-based violence must be a collective effort for Indigenous people, the federal government, provincial governments, community organizations, and individuals. Before we do that, though, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge that the nature of this topic can bring up a lot of feelings, recognizing that over 50% of women have experienced some type of physical or sexual violence. As well, spousal violence for Indigenous women is 3 times higher than non-Indigenous. And people who are gender diverse also are more likely to experience physical or sexual abuse than heterosexual people. And since the outbreak of COVID-19, this type of abuse has been on the rise. So it's really important in this work to take care of our spirits. So if you need to take a moment to step away, to take a breath of fresh air, a drink of water, or draw on some of those grounding techniques like tapping or counting down to the 5 senses, certainly encourage you to do that. Another part of today, we will also be talking about fasting. So fasting is the aspect of the day that is a sacred and powerful act within the campaign. It's rooted in Indigenous practices that symbolize reflection, clarity, and personal commitment. For many, it's a deeply spiritual and transformative experience that calls on humility, strength, and intention.
Yeah.
We also recognize that fasting can be a sensitive topic, especially for individuals who have experienced trauma. Eating disorders, for example, can be a long-term response to child abuse. And in this context, discussions of fasting, while meaningful, may be difficult for some. So above all, your safety, comfort, and self-knowledge within the matter. We invite everybody to listen to your body and do what feels right for you, whether through fasting or other forms of reflection and commitment where your presence is valued and honored. We will be providing a safety window to allow folks to step away for that portion of the presentation, and recognize as well that it can come up organically in the conversation, and we encourage people to take care of themselves accordingly. So if you've been to any of my engagement sessions, you'll know that I always like to make time to co-create a calling in culture, to offer some agreements in how we want to show up for ourselves and each other. The ones that I first came across through were the Circle Way. One of them is an invitation to listen with curiosity and compassion, with discernment rather than judgment. So it's not about being right or wrong, bad or good. There's lots of different ways of being and seeing in the world. Another is to take what you need, offer what you can. That can take any hierarchy that exists, put it on its side, and recognize shared leadership. So a leader in every chair, every viewer here. So yeah, with that, I'd just like to open up Slido. If you would like to offer an intention or agreement for our time together, you're welcome to grab your phone, open up the camera feature, point it at that QR code, and a little yellow bar should pop up on your screen. You click on that and it will take you to slido.com. If you're using an Android phone, you might need to adjust 79988. So with that, while we give folks a little bit of time to think about what agreement they would like to offer, I'm curious if you have an agreement you would like to offer this morning.
Yeah, I would like to invite respectful dialogue and for everybody to listen actively.
I think I would like to offer just a space to show up exactly as you are, and just the love and care for everyone for making it here today.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm going to add in that, oh yeah, we've already got that patience with technology. Thank you. That's one of my often favorite agreements when we're online. So you'll see that a word cloud is starting to appear. If there's some agreements that other people have offered that really resonate with you, you'll see you'll be able to offer in additional agreements. You're welcome to enter those in again, as well if there's any others you would like to add. So we've got to be present and mindful. That's beautiful. A safe space to watch and listen with no distraction. Being open-minded to learn and understand more. Lots of commitment to be fully present. That's really awesome. gentleness with ourselves as we learn. That's so important. I love that. Listening and learning. You know, I hear lots of elders say we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that listening twice as much. Empathy, respect, humility. We can create safety for others by practicing humility. So I really love that one. Learning, curiosity, that open heart and open mind, kindness, courage, offering love and presence. Wow, I love all of these that are being offered. Open listening for all experiences. Beautiful. Courage.
Cool.
Thank you. Self-realization. Oh, that's a powerful one. And likely to happen when we have that open heart and open mind. Wonderful. Well, now that we've created this foundation for a calling in culture, which also aligns with how our brains work when we give feedback in a strength-based way, it activates the neurons in our prefrontal cortex. So it puts us in our planning, thinking, compassionate part of our brain, and that power of repetition. Versus when we give feedback in a negative or critical way, it activates the neurons in the amygdala, so the behavior response we see is more likely to be freeze, fight, or fawn, and not that desired behavior change. So wonderful. I've got a few more. Expansion and patience. Beautiful. Spirit of learning. Wonderful. Thank you all so much for all these beautiful offerings of how we want to show up for each other today. So maybe we'll just take a moment to ground ourselves and embody these agreements. If you like, if your feet can touch the ground, you're welcome to put both feet on the ground, your hands on your lap. You could raise your shoulders, roll them back, imagining a thread pulling your head tall, a soft tuck of the chin, your eyes closed, or a soft gaze forward, whatever feels most comfortable to you. And just start to bring awareness to your breath, noticing your inhale and your exhale, and just that invitation to be really present that's being offered today. Let go of whatever was happening leading up to now, later on today, or maybe things happening around you. And just coming back to your breath, noticing your inhale and your exhale. Just take a moment to feel the air on your face. Notice that space connecting to the chair. And again, just coming back to your breath. And just offer gratitude for each and every one of you and to the ancestors of the lands that each of us are on and our own ancestors, and ask them to support us in doing good work while we're together. Thank you. All right, so now we've co-created this learning and sharing space. I'd just like to invite you, Raven, to share a little bit about the story behind the Moose Hide campaign.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Well, first, I just want to thank you for welcoming us in such a beautiful way, and that grounding exercise always is so important to just like take a second and close my eyes and settle into this space. It feels so awesome. I was thinking about it and thinking about all the people watching, and that I can't see any of you, but that we're in this like moment together, and how cool that is to be connected as we all collectively take those big deep breaths. It's exactly like how it is on Moose Hide Campaign Day, when we're all in ceremony with each other, and even if we can't see each other in like physical space, to know that we're all in this like moment together is really cool. So I was just thinking about that. Happy to be taking those breaths with each of you, for joining today, and to be here and sharing a little bit about the campaign for those of you that are returning viewers and big supporters and family and love of the campaign, welcome back. And for all of those that are new to the Moose Hide campaign, welcome. You're so welcome here. We're so excited that you could join us today and learn a little bit more about what we're up to, what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it, and hope that you might be able to see yourself in that with us and help to take these steps on this journey towards ending violence and increasing that love and safety. So I'm happy to just share a little bit about the campaign, kind of the story of how we got started and what our journey has looked like over the last 14 years now. Holy, it's a long time. There we go. And what we're hoping to do, where we're hoping to go, what we're hoping to achieve, and then all the tools and supports. We've got a bunch of the tools and supports for anyone that's watching that wants to bring this medicine into your own spaces, so we can share all of that later. Stephanie will walk you through what that looks like. And I really appreciate you starting us off with a bit of a trigger warning, because this issue is just so important. And it's something that touches so many of us and impacts so many of us, whether it's us directly or maybe someone that we know or love or really care about has experienced some form of violence in their lives. Right from those microaggressions to, financial violence, to sexualized violence, all the way through to homicide. And so when we're talking about this work, it is real. It's real for so many of us, and we have to do something about it. And if we don't, then it's just going to keep happening. It's one of those things that thrives in the shadows. If we don't talk about it, people feel like it's something that can just keep happening. If we don't bring voice to it, for often people that don't have the voice to bring it up, it's our duty, our responsibility as humans to come forward and talk about this issue and say, actually, we really don't believe in this and we don't stand for it. And our most precious people, each of us are so precious. None of us are deserving of that violence. And so we need to be standing up and speaking out and inviting each other in to these conversations in a good way, where it's not about blame or shame, but just that there's a real issue happening across this country. People are not safe, and we need to bring that forward, bring that out of those shadows, and say we as a community of people are taking that stand. We're wearing Moose Hide pins. We're having these conversations. We're participating in Moose Hide Campaign Day. And together we're making that change that we really, really need. And so those are kind of the thoughts that really started to formulate when we were thinking about starting something. Me and my family were really thinking about, what can our family do to help be part of a positive solution? We want to do something right now. We don't want to sit and wait and think about it for a really long time and try to come up with the best possible perfect thing. It was no, we want to try something right now, because every single day this violence is happening and feels really urgent. And so we spent some time about it, talking around the dinner table as a family, what can that thing be that our family can do? And it wasn't until we were back home in our home community, where the Highway of Tears is, Prince George up to Prince Rupert, Highway 16, known as the Highway of Tears because dozens of women have gone missing or have been found murdered from along that stretch of highway. And that highway cuts directly through my traditional territories, where I'm from, where my people are from, where my ancestors are from. And those people that have lost their lives, I wanted to do something about it. Those are my family members. Some of them are my family, my community. The impacts that has on our communities is so devastating. And so that is where I think it really started for me was thinking about that experience of people and hearing about it from a young age, and wanting to do something about it. Like, why is that happening? And what can I do to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore? And so I bring that perspective to it. And, but when we talk about gender-based violence, that's women across the country that are experiencing that violence. There is a special focus on Indigenous women because the rates of violence are just so much higher. But women and children and those along the gender continuum are experiencing all of these forms of violence all the time. And so, however the people are that I think you might be thinking about when we're talking about this issue, I want maybe just like a little hand on our hearts as we're thinking about these people, and knowing that we have the opportunity to use our voice and to speak into these spaces and to bring this issue out of those shadows. And so we were hunting in our back home, in our home community, and got this moose. It was just my dad and I out that morning and talking about all of these different pieces. My dad had just come back from a conference in Vancouver about ending violence towards women and children, and there were 285 people at that conference, and only 4 of those people were male identifying people. And my dad is one of these guys where, like, where are all the guys? Why aren't they here? And what can we do to help call in more men and boys to be part of the conversations and to be part of that solution, that healing, that connection that we really need? We need every single person to be part of this solution together. So we had been talking about that. We were right off the side of the highway of tears, and talking about those people that have lost their lives, wanting to do something to help honor them and also make sure that that never happens again, so that when our young, precious ones are out there in the world, that we know that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that they get to live a life free of violence, with nothing but love and respect at all times. And so it kind of like came to us in this moment of inspiration. We're sitting there on the land cleaning out this moose, and it felt like a medicine moment where we're reflecting about how beautiful Mother Earth is and how much capacity she has to carry with us, and how much medicine and healing and love that she has for us, and that this moose gave its life to us. And so, and how healing, like being on the land and in our culture, is for our people, for my people, and for Indigenous folks, and for so many of us across this country. There's so much resiliency, I think, in our old ways in our culture. And so we were like, well, maybe this can be the thing. Like, maybe we just use this moose hide, tan it up into a tanned hide, like a moose hide, and cut it up into a bunch of little squares, and just ask people to wear it as an everyday commitment, as an everyday reminder that we don't want to do violence. We want to call each other in. We want to raise our young ones so that they know what real love looks like, where they hear that violence isn't okay. It can become such a normalized experience for so many people, and it's not normal. It doesn't have to happen. We can invite our young ones into a different way. Where these cycles of violence that are happening in so many of our families and our relationships and our communities, we can break those cycles and provide tools and medicine and healing so that those cycles don't have to continue anymore. So we brought that moose hide back home to our home here in Victoria. Our neighbors were not very happy because the hide tanning process is really stinky. But we tanned it up and cut it up into a bunch of little squares. We literally grabbed our kitchen scissors and started cutting into it. I would look down and be cutting, thinking I was making the perfect straight line. And then I would look back at it and it would be this big wonky line. So anyone that might have those first original moose pins, do not look like these perfect little 1-inch squares. There's been a ton of innovation into the pins now. And my like repetitive stress injury wouldn't allow to make these many pins that we have out there now. And then we hand wrote on index cards what we're trying to do, 25,000 squares with the pins attached to them, and just started handing them out. I was 16 when we first had this idea and just started talking about it. It was like kind of uncomfortable, you know, as a teenager, as someone that hasn't really been like around people having these kinds of conversations. I mean, obviously I did because we were talking about it a lot and it's like something that I grew up in, but I realized when I'm out there talking to like other random people that it was hard to like, what do I say? How do I say this? What is the right thing to say? And so it took a lot of practice and just started to invite people in. And right away, people were like, oh, I want to wear that pin. I live that life already. I want to bring my little ones up in my family, my partner, my workplace. I want to bring it to my school. And it just started to grow and grow and grow. And it really is just like a little rock in the pond that just keeps dropping all over the place. And then it just spreads everywhere. It's so cool to see it happening organically out there. These pins are like a little thing that you wear, hopefully on your lapel, or your jacket or your hat or your lanyard every single day. And when you see it or when you put it on, it's that every single day reminder of who we want to be in this world, how we want to show up. Is there healing that we might want to be working through? Is there tools that we can onboard to help be better prepared to have these conversations and to tell our little ones about it? For me, that's my reminder every day. How do I want my kids to experience my partner, my workplace, my community? Like, I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. And no one is perfect. And better is always possible. And so this is just an invitation into that like striving for better every single day. And so I hope that you are able to wear it every day and have that little check-in with yourself. We really think of it as like an inside job first, and then invite each other in when you're doing that work. It really, you can see it when other people are like, I'm wearing this because I care and I'm working on it myself and I want to invite you into that with me. And so it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And we've handed out more than 7 million pins now across the country to people that are ready and willing to take that stand. So there is a special focus on inviting more men and boys to be part of the conversation because I think that there's so much opportunity for more men and boys to join the conversation and to be part of it. And so that's why I'm really happy that Dom is here to be able to share a little bit more from that perspective. I think it's really important for men to be calling each other into, you know, it's really, really important for that piece to be shared. And so, you know, the pin really is like the piece of the work. You know, you go out and you see people wearing it down the street and you know what they stand for. You know that they're a safe person that you can go and call on if you need them. I hear that all the time. Oh, I saw people downtown walking downtown on the street wearing the pin, and I knew that if I needed somebody in that moment, that they would be somebody that I would be drawn towards to go and get that support from. And so it's like creating this community of people. The other piece of it really is about Moosehide Campaign Day. It's coming up May 15th. And I came up with this like really genius marketing idea about how a way to remember it. And some of our team likes it and some of our team doesn't, but I'm going to just float it here and you can tell me if it's a good idea. But you know how like in movie theaters at the scene when it's like doing the commercial and then it says like the date that's the movie is coming out. The date for Moosehide Campaign Day this year is 05 May, 15 like the 15th, and then 25 like 2025. So it's like 051525. So if we can like insert that big like commercial thing here. Just kidding. I think it's cool. It's a good way for me to remember it. We can make it a thing right now. Anyways, it's on May 15th. And it's a day of ceremony. We want to invite people into a ceremony. That's when we're sharing about why we started the campaign in the first place. Culture and ceremony and connection is such an important piece to our theory of change, to this work, to the resiliency of my people and my community, my family. And so we were like, we should really have some form of an offering to people that we can come and do that together. So was born Moose Hide Campaign Day. We fast. So my family comes from a fasting family, 4 days and 4 nights in the bush by themselves with no food and no water, supported by knowledge keepers, often with the intention or the prayer for something. You're up in that ceremony for something. And so we thought that maybe a one-day fast could be a good idea to invite people into an Indigenous-led ceremony that anybody and everybody can come and be part of, and, do that another deep dive into our own selves, find what that means to us, what comes up when we're in this fasting ceremony together. And while we're in this fasting ceremony, we have a big day that is live streamed out to coast to coast to coast across the country. And we have workshops and keynotes and tools, like learning to go in our tool belts to know how to have these conversations in good and safe ways. And then we mobilize, it's really an act of mobilization of unity and of that connection. So when we were all taking those deep breaths together, we're not seeing any of each other, but we're in it in that moment together. And so on campaign day, when we're in this ceremony together, whether you're fasting or not, you're in this ceremony. If you're wearing your pin, if you're conscious about the day, that there's work being done, and that this effort of people are coming together. This past couple of years, we had 500,000 people register to be part of the day with us. And that is such a powerful feeling to know that there are that many people out there across the country that believe in this work, that believe that we have the power to make a change in our own lives and in lives for so many others and for our future generations. And so it's a really special day to be part of, and you're all so welcome and encouraged and invited to come and be part of that day with us. I know that many of you are champions already and leads and inviting each other in your own workspaces to come and be part of that. I hope that you're also going to your homes, to your loved ones, to invite them to be part of the day as well. Please make sure to register to get access to all of the links to the live stream and all the things, and it helps us to be able to tell the story of the growth of this medicine. It's really important we think of it as medicine. So the pins are free. We've made a forever promise to never charge for them because they're that little piece of medicine. And so an invitation to, if you have some already, go and get them in your drawers or wherever they are and pull them out, put them out on your desk and share them around. So our hope is to be able to get to a place where we have 1 million people fasting and being part of Moose Hide Campaign Day together, and really looking forward to that day. And I think that that vision of increased safety and love and connection will just skyrocket through the roof, and it's going to be so awesome and so beautiful. And so I'm really grateful for each of you to join the call today, and for your willingness to be part of this with us, and for using your voice to speak for those who can't. And really grateful to be here sitting with each of you and for all of the support team to be able to live stream this out today. So that's it for me. Thank you. Masicho.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Raven. Always appreciate hearing from you. And over to you, Dom, to hear your connection to the campaign.
Awesome. Thank you. I had forgotten to mention that my role in the campaign is the cultural lead. I was lucky enough to be brought up in my community in the Wasetnich territory in Brentwood Bay. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience with ceremony from a young age, and hopefully help some of the men or everybody else on the call to help in your story of your experience with ceremony, whether it be maybe your first time or maybe your second or third year, and wanting to step in a little bit more. So I grew up in a family of 8 kids. I'm the second youngest. There was 5 boys and 3 girls. And I was lucky enough to be brought up by a father that believed in honoring and respecting the women in our lives. And I just want to pause on that for a second to say that that's a weird thing to say, that I was lucky enough to have a dad like that. That's not the reality for everybody. And that's part of the disconnection that we have in today's society, I believe. And that's what we're aiming to do, is to reestablish that love and that connection through ceremony. So I just want to share a little bit about how I came to be in connection with ceremony, and just where it all came from. So my family, where we're situated, we go to Big House culture, which is a West Coast culture ceremony, where we hold all of our ceremonies in there for weddings or funerals or ceremonial dancing during the winters. So when I was young, probably about 7 or 8, I started to get curious about it, and always hearing the loud drumming that happens. And, in a busy family of 8, I would always ask my dad, I'm like, hey, can you bring me down there? And he's like, yeah, we'll try. And and then I kept asking day after day. And then so he would kind of just be like, well, it's okay for you to go down there. It's there's going to be lots of family and friends and people that will look after you while you're there. And then just let me know what you learned and what you observed when you were there. So I did. I was like, okay, I'm going to go right after school, and just walk down there by myself and kind of just sit there off to the side and just watch and observe what was happening on the floor. A lot of it would happen in my language, so I got to learn that part, and got introduced to a lot of my friends and family from my community. And then so I'd go back and I'd tell my dad what I learned, and I'd be like, oh, this is so awesome. And then so after a while, I would start to join in participating in the ceremony itself. One of the smallest ways that I did that was one of my cousins asked me to help out in the kitchen. And so then I started helping clean the tables and reset the table for more family to eat at the end of the night. And I didn't know it at the time, but they pay for the people that help put on the dinner and cleaning up and stuff like that, and all of the bits of the ceremony. So then to have that recognition at the end of the night when they brought me back up, they're like, hey, so we're going to pay all the people that helped clean. And I felt so honored to just take part in that little bit of cleaning the table. And, they gave me a little bit of like gifts and money and stuff. And I still carry around that one blanket that they gave me as a reminder of my start into culture and community and ceremony. And I just keep it around as a reminder for myself to keep showing up, and to bring my whole heart, my open heart, to heal and grow and reconnect. And so I guess that's my invitation, is to just show up, even if you're just sitting there to watch and to learn what happens and how we do things here at the Moose Hide Campaign on Ceremony Day in fasting. And I guess next I'll move to the fasting. I just took the opportunity to do a 3-day, 3-night fast this past summer, which was something that I had worked on since I very first started with the campaign in 2013. Raven's dad was like, do you want to do a 4-day, 4-night one day? And I was like this year? And then I was like, no, definitely not. And then he was like, that's a good answer, but it's something to build towards. So every year I would do the fast, and we would check in with each other the night before, and we would say, why are we here? Who are we here for? And what is the hope of tomorrow, the fasting day? And so we'd answer those questions every year, and it would get a little bit deeper and deeper every year. Which is also another call to action, is just to push yourself if you can every year, deepen your understanding, and check in with your colleagues or people that you see attending each year, and fill your space with that connection and love. And so I've been able to work on a project called the 10 Men ceremony with some of the MPs in Ottawa and the senators. So I helped them through 1-day fasts over the last few years. And, the first year was like they're kind of introducing each other to each other. And it was a little bit, not basic, but like first year entry level kind of thing. And then by year 3, I asked them to finish the ceremony at the end of the day with a hug. And they all got up and they did it happily. And, they're from opposite sides of the house, which was great to see them be able to put their roles and responsibilities aside and just be human with each other. And to really show that their heart is open to one another. And I think that that's really great. And it just goes to show that year over year, you'll gain your capacity and your strength. And I always say that this intergenerational trauma that we've had over the generations takes intergenerational love and healing. So I think it's year after year that you will find that you're exercising those love muscles and those ceremonial muscles. So I just want to end with that, just that you're invited, and that the men specifically, I want to really invite you to step into this space, this ceremonial space and heart space for the safety and respect for our women. Hejka.
Thank you both so much. Really beautiful and powerful, the sharing and the journeys that you've been on.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So a little bit about the day. You heard a little bit from Raven and Dom. This is our schedule for the day. You'll notice that is a virtual schedule, a little bit of a change up from previous years. We'll begin the day when the sun hits the East Coast on Turtle Island. It'll be live streamed and recorded so that as each of us wake up towards the West Coast, we can begin our day with the sunrise ceremony. Then at 8:30, we will have our plenary. We'll be hearing from Raven Lissert and her dad, Paul Lissert. As well, we have some wonderful keynote speakers, Elaine Alec, who also happens to be year 1 alumnus from the Indigenous Youth Internship Program. Awesome legacy. We also will have Mark Hoffman joining us as a keynote speaker. We'll be offering 2 sets of live virtual workshops as well on Moosehide Campaign Day. So really great professional development opportunity, both in the morning and in the afternoon. There'll be about 10 workshops to choose from being offered both times. So you'll have a little bit of opportunity to join a couple. I'll be doing a collective story harvest with my firstborn, Raven George, as well as some other great workshops, Elaine Alec doing cultivating safe spaces, and many more. If you've already registered for Moosehide Campaign Day, you'll be getting an email coming out soon for invitation to register for the workshops. We will also be having our Walk to End Violence in Victoria. This year, we will not be live streaming the event. And that's because we are encouraging people to be hosting their own walks to end violence, to get out in their community, come together and do that. So to support that, if you go to our events page on our Moosehide Campaign website, you can scroll down to the bottom, and if you're hosting your own event, you would like people to come, you can post that as well. You can see on the map what events are happening across BC and Canada. We'll be wrapping up our day with our fast breaking ceremony that we will be live streaming as well. So just again, primarily virtual, aside from the Walk to End Violence that'll be happening in communities, including Victoria. There's lots of ways that you can participate and support Moosehide Campaign Day leading up to and on Moosehide Campaign Day, organizing your own event with colleagues, your own walk. We've got some resources online to support that. Ordering, wearing, and sharing the Moosehide pins, wearing your pin on the in meetings, having the backgrounder. As well, things like tomorrow, on Wednesdays, Wear and Share Wednesdays. So if you'd like to take a selfie or picture and tag us, that would be awesome. You can participate in Moosehide Campaign Day as part of your professional development. With supervisor approval, you can take the day as professional development in time and pay. In addition, you can have your participation reflected on your learning record through the Learning Hub. And on the professional development platform, you can, in the reconciliation learning goal, you can include Moosehide Campaign Day. So those are some of the ways to support you in being there or part of the day. And again, as well, joining in the fasting. All right, so we've got lots of resources to share with you this year on our downloads page. Social media, squares, posters. So if you're hosting your own event, you can update it with your own information. We also have some, if it's the first time you've ever hosted your own walk, we've got some great resources as well for just for people to just to help you kind of what things to think about and that kind of thing. So we really encourage that spirit of sharing leadership for people to take it up on their own and make it their own. So, and if you need any support with that, please feel free to reach out. So I think with our little bit of our technical challenges today, we're running a little bit short of time for our Q&A. So what I thought I might do is just going to wrap up with some self-care, community care, and maybe invite Raven if you have a few thoughts on how to do that in a good way.
Sure. Thank you all again with these just last few moments that we have together. I think it's just so important that we talk about self-care. This work, as we have talked about for the last hour, is so important, and also like a lot of heart work and a lot of like maybe spirit work and maybe like some reflection and some healing and all of those things. So when we're talking about all of that stuff, self-care is like really, really important. Using me as an example, I've been going out for the last 14 years now, talking about the Moosehide campaign, opening up these spaces for conversations, people feeling this space and safety and to share their stories with me. And so I am someone who carries many, many, many stories of folks that are touched by this issue in all of the different ways. And so for me, I've had to really learn that self-care is so important. So whether that's, you know, going for a walk and picking up a rock when you're going for that walk, and putting all of that, letting go of all of the energy or emotions that come with this kind of work, and talking about this topic and being in this space, and letting that rock go at the end of your walk, and letting that rock carry that with you. Mother Earth, as we said earlier, has so much ability to carry with us. And so maybe it's just catching some of the leaves or the brush as you're walking by on your walk. And whatever self-care looks like for you is so important. Walking by the water, or having a shower, or doing a yoga class, or eating a good meal, or whatever, counseling sessions, whatever the things are that look like for you for self-care. Please be taking care of yourself. Safety is the most important thing when folks are thinking about being part of the Moose Hide campaign. And so I just want to invite you to remember that piece. Maybe it's a smudge or a conversation with somebody. So think about what that means for you, and please make sure that you're taking care of yourselves while we're stepping into these spaces. So just again, thank you so much for being with us today. And please make sure to register. There's the QR code. If you want to register right now, please, you can go ahead and do that. It's the same thing with your phone. Just go and register, or you can do the same thing at moosehidecampaign.ca. All of the information is all there. And I really look forward to being in ceremony with you on 051525.
I love that. It's a pattern, right? Awesome. Thank you both so much. And thank each and every one of you for being with us for this hour together to learn more about the campaign and hear from both of you. Just love and hugs to you. Thank you. Raise my hands to each and every one of you. And see you on 051525.